Hey guys, this is Pastor Bo with just a quick word, and today I want to talk about mental health. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and if you know me, you know this is something I'm rather passionate about, particularly reducing the stigma around mental illness, and in particular in the church. Because for far too long, Christians have participated in the demeaning and the demonizing, quite literally the demonizing in some cases, of people who are struggling with mental illness. There have been times across our history where we say, those people are possessed because they are dealing with paranoid schizophrenia, or they are dealing with depression or anxiety or some other more severe mental illness. There are too many times, even today, when Christian pastors and leaders equate mental illness with having a lack of faith. But we know that's just not true. You can't pray away depression any more than you can pray away diabetes. You can't believe your way out of severe anxiety any more than you can believe your way out of higher cholesterol. Don't get me wrong, a robust life of faith does help, and even scientifically, it's shown that it does help with your mental well-being. But it is not a panacea for all things mental health, just like it's not a panacea for all things in our physical health. And so I think it's important to state that if you are dealing with some sort of mental health challenge or mental illness, it is not due to a lack of faith or a lack of devotion to God or Jesus Christ. I think it's also important to reduce the stigma to say, well, this is all just new stuff. This didn't happen back in the day. That's nonsense. For decades, for centuries, for millennia, people have been dealing with mental illness. Even back into the ancient world, we have accounts that show even great leaders and great kings were dealing with. Sennacherib, and I'm probably pronouncing that wrong, he was a king of Assyria, and in his records, this is in the 600s BC, 7th century BC, it is showing that he probably dealt with depression. He would stay in his rooms for days at a time. He wouldn't eat. He wasn't interested in dealing with the running of his empire. And at that point, he was probably one of the most powerful people in the known world. And so depression goes back at least to the 7th century BCE and probably longer, and it has shown up time and again in the historical record among the common people and among the great and the powerful alike. So this is nothing new. We're just getting better at identifying it and finding treatments for it. And related to that, I think it's important to say it's not because you're not successful enough or you're not powerful enough or if you just had a little bit more money. Again, the most rich and the most powerful across the centuries have dealt with real, deep and lasting mental health problems. And then finally, I think it's important to recognize that our bodies are one connected unit. We sometimes talk about our mind and our body as if they're two separate things, or our soul and our body as if they're not connected. No, they are deeply connected in physical and psychological, and I would argue even in spiritual ways. And so care for one is care for the other. So the more that we exercise, or at least get out and walk and get some sunshine, the better our mental health is. And the more that we attend to our mental health to try to find that balance, and the better that our body works. And so this May, I just want to encourage you to not be afraid or embarrassed to talk about mental health. To realize that someone can be dealing with it and you might not even realize it. I mean, I take sertraline every day because I have anxiety, and I have for almost a decade now. I take a clonazepam because sometimes I have panic attacks which feel like dying. It's not a good time. But for the most part, most people don't know that until I tell them, because those medications and therapy and good exercise and good eating, they help me to maintain a balance that helps me to continue to be the pastor and the father and the husband that God has called me to be. And so again, I think it's part of our job as God's people to remind everyone, that all of them are made in the image of God, and all of them are beloved by God, even when they are dealing with illnesses in their life, whether it be illnesses that are more connected with our physiology or illnesses that are more connected with our psychology. because all of that is interconnected into the person that God has made us. So never be afraid to ask for help. Never be afraid to reach out. Never be afraid to seek the treatment that you need, because God has given us all these wonderful gifts, from prayer and faith to modern medicine, in order to help us have the abundant life that Jesus calls us to live. I hope you're doing well. I hope that you are getting the care you need, and I hope that you know you always have help and care here at Good Shepherd Lutheran Church. Bye now.